ask the witnesses for a response. Dr. Garza indicated in his testimony that following some kinds of biological attacks, ideally we would need to detect and start mass dispensing treatments in as little as 1 to 2 days. And I wanted to ask you, and I really should have asked Dr. Garza too, whether, to the best of your knowledge, there's any, well, city, for instance, that's able to meet this expectation for a wide area attack for even just one of the biological threats we face. Dr. Levy, do you know?
I can't answer that question with specificity, but I think it speaks to the incredible importance of not losing more of our public health workforce, because you can't create this kind of pop-up capacity.
Right. Did anybody?
Sorry, just comment. I think that there's still a lot of doubt and concern about it. I know during my tenure in the White House in late 2008, we had serious concerns. Just to note that President Obama signed an executive order in December of 2009, kind of mobilizing the federal assets to help assist in that effort, particularly the role of the U.S. Postal Service, Department of Defense, as well as trying to use other federal employees and other agencies to respond this way.
To develop ways of dispensing countermeasures to mission-essential people. So it's a multi-dimensional approach to this problem.
Well, I got you there because we're focused on the Postal Service, unfortunately, in other ways. Take a minute and tell us where we are in the exploration of using this remarkable national network of the Postal Service to help in terms of biodefense.
Yes, sir. To my knowledge, and HHS ASPR runs most of the programs through this. The program that has been developed and is the most widely known is the one in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. If I believe correctly, I believe there's 3 or 4 other cities that are exploring the options or have developed plans to use the postal option. But again, I would emphasize that it's one part of a multi-layered approach, albeit an important one. But it has to be thought of as a multi-layered approach.
And there, just to be specific, we're looking at the post men and women delivering vaccines, for instance, or distributing vaccines.
They'd be distributing medical countermeasures, so antibiotics.
I'm sorry, antibiotics, right. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So they would be delivering antibiotics to the population's homes.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's important to continue to explore.
So just to put a finer point on that, because there are 3 cities that are in line to basically follow Minneapolis: San Diego, Boston, and Philadelphia. And those cities have received grants from HHS through the Cities Readiness Initiative to do so. So it is, again, as Dr. Garza said, part of a multi-pronged approach, but they really represent a first strike capability, which in 12 hours to basically disseminate a limited supply of antibiotics to every residence within 12 hours.
So obviously the Postal Service is in real financial trouble, but and part of what we're trying to do, they happen to come under the jurisdiction of this committee, with the Postmaster, is to look at ways we can capitalize on the unique national network they have, as you probably know.
Hi, I'm Craig Fugate, the Administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, more commonly known as FEMA, and with me is Neil McDevitt. We want to talk to you about something that you've oftentimes heard on your radio, TV, across cable stations, and that is, this is a test of the emergency alert system. In partnership with the FCC and local and national broadcasters, FEMA is participating in a national test of the emergency alert system on November 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. This test will be a little bit different, as this will be a national test across the entire country. And you may not see the familiar test banner crawling across your screens. We want you to know this is a test, and it's our opportunity to check and make sure that our systems are working across the country if we have a national emergency. Because of the system design, not all of you will see the crawl that says this is a test. It will say this is an emergency alert, But we want you to understand this is a test. And so, again, when you see the banner that says this is an emergency alert on November 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern, this is only a test. Neil?
Here's the challenge. Some television stations across the country may not have the ability to change the words on the screen. Instead, they will have a voice stating that it is a test. For people who are deaf or hard of hearing, they will not hear this voice. Likewise, people who are blind or have low vision will hear the voice saying it is just a test, but they may not understand what the test is about. People with cognitive or intellectual disabilities may have difficulty understanding how the test applies to them. These limitations come from the older systems that are being used for these tests, and we know they're not as accessible as we'd like them to be. As Administrator Fugate explained, within the next several years, FEMA and the FCC are working to build a modern system that will deliver more accessible and more relevant emergency alerts.
A programming story is, and I had it printed out so I could read some of it to you, there's something called the Juggalos, and maybe you've heard of it before. It's basically the fans of a group called Insane Clown Posse, which is a Detroit rap group. And they're famous for their clown makeup and their annual gatherings. But apparently, there is a subset of followers who, according to the FBI, and I quote, behave or exhibit a gang-like behavior and engage in criminal activity and violence. And they're being watched by the FBI. They're calling them, and again I quote, a loosely organized hybrid gang, unquote. And apparently they create mischief and violence in various areas. The fans of this rock group go to the concerts dressed like clowns, but many of these so-called juggalos insist they just like the music and the community of the people involved in this group, and they say that they are like a family of people who don't belong elsewhere. So that's very interesting. You know, in my books I talk about people who have IS programming, who dress like clowns or jugglers, etc. And this kind of programming is quite severe. It can lead to death and destruction of the individual who may not pass a test that the internal programmer gives to them, and the test can be a matter of life and death at times. It's to bump you up to the next level to see how far you will go.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Friday, November 4th, 2011, and I'm Darko. This is part 2 of this news bulletin. We're going to start with eugenics because that's where we left off and I wasn't finished, and then we'll move into Big Brother. My website is ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. Alright, ddarko2012 is my YouTube channel as well. Forever young, drugs that let you grow old gracefully could soon be reality. Scientists have found a way to slow cell growth. One of the things I learned in college when I took an advertising class was, I went for journalism, but I did take an advertising class because that was what I started off with. And then I realized that it was just pure evil. And, you know, the big thing about advertising is they target two things, and that's sex and death. People are just frightened and fearful of death, most of them. And so this thing they will just latch onto. And, of course, the Brave New World will include, you know, longevity. Of course, the elites, that's what they want. They want to live forever. They want to become gods and stuff like that. And of course, the other one is sex. And we all know that too, right? It says here, the Boy Scouts preparing young men for the musical festivals of tomorrow. So it says in a new ad campaign, Boy Scouts of America, they were just in the news, remember? About the girl, or the boy that wanted to be in the Girl Scouts. And then there was another individual, a young person, who wanted to be in the Boy Scouts that was lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual, whatever it was. And they were allowing them. And then, of course, what we were tying the last time, this to Mormonism and Freemasonry. So it makes sense. When I saw this picture, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whow, you know? And so a lot of stuff is going on over there. So moving on here, it says why I cheated on my husband. So you can go in there and it gives you discover 11 signs they might be having affairs. So It gives you reasons to cheat on your husband. It says here, and husbands to cheat on their wives, I guess vice versa. Police judge won't be charged over video beating. So a Texas family law judge whose daughter secretly videotaped him savagely beating her 7 years ago won't face criminal charge because too much time has elapsed, police say. The political law enforcement, the Fraternal Order, the Brotherhood said. It says here, Texas mom pleads guilty in death of son in New Hampshire. Pleaded guilty of killing her 6-year-old son and disposing of his body in rural Maine. And let's not forget that the judges are middle management as well. So here we have an interesting story. Autism can be an advantage, researcher says. So there's some people, some groups and scientists and doctors even that think that there's a tie or a link between autism and vaccinations and thimerosal and mercury that's in there. And then you have the New Age movement. When I started to learn more about, maybe about 2006, and then I kind of stayed away from it a little bit, a lot actually, pulled away. And one of the things I noticed was that they kept saying that these autistic children were indigos and all this, and they were so special and everything like that. And maybe they are. Maybe, I don't know. I can't prove an unphysical world. But what I do know is this: counting down Kiefer Sutherland's touch, and it goes on here, and it says that. He's trying to save the world again, of course, right? And it says Sutherland plays Mr. Bohm, a widower and a father to a mute, severely autistic son, Jake. The problem, Jack harbors the uncanny ability to connect patterns and discovering the meaning behind seemingly unrelated events happening all over the world. In other words, he can predict. And it's weird because I was watching Stand By Me last night, and I was like, man, he always plays a creep and everything. I don't know the guy personally. I'm not dogging his his individual personality in that, or trying to defame him. I'm just saying that it seems like he's always got these characters, and then he popped up in the news, which I thought was kind of ironic. It says here, pale-faced Mars crew lands after 20 days in isolation. I remember when this first started, and this is pretty crazy, right? Because what do I think? I think that this is what? This is just the big show. This is the old technology, the physical point A to point B. We're going to put some kind of rocket fuel. We're going to get there. When in reality, they have this. They have a Stargate, right? And they put it in science fiction to assume what it doesn't exist. Oh, you saw that in Stargate, and jump rooms and stuff like that. And your government is experimenting with this technology, where you can bend time and space. So I think this is just a bunch of hooky. You know what I mean? If they want to go to Mars, bam, you'll be there, right? There's some people that actually say, credible people that say there's actually bases on Mars, including the moon. It says here, Chile miners 1 year on, over half of Los 33. So this is another experiment that I called out, was what? Oh, the magic 33 people. And those people, one of the persons was famous. Look at this. He's with Mickey Mouse, the Grand Marshal, the Grand Wizard. And of course, what? Their ship that the vessel that went in there and saved them was called what? The Phoenix, right? And some more irony, I didn't know this, but when I'm looking in the story, they actually have called the rescue mission Plan A, Plan B. So, I don't know. Maybe this is to get them to see what they can stand if they do have to go through that physical travel of that distance and stuff like that. I'm not really sure. I guess we'll see. We have biggest jump ever seen in global warming gases. Bunch of hooey. Is global warming over? One scientist says major study used to defend global warming theory actually shows it's no longer occurring. It says here, study ties fracking to quakes in England, but they're going to keep doing it. Giant asteroid is about to pass between the Earth and the Moon, our closest to shave for 35 years on November 8th. Then moving on here, we have, remember the story about all those exotic animals getting out and the deputies basically just shooting them all, killing them all without no what do you call it, the tranquilizers. Video police defend decision to shoot cows. Police said the animals at times charge police cars, just like in the other story too. World's most powerful laser to tear apart the vacuum of space. So just playing God, I guess. Wristband to enable phone to track your activity and sleep. Also a suitcase device can track IDs, disable phones, and intercept communications. Police GPS tracking case to be heard by the Supreme Court. Whether police will need a warrant to track a suspect's vehicle with a GPS device. Another clash between new surveillance technology and basic privacy rights. We have a Bay Area woman trapped in an airport for 8 days, all for lack of a $60 baggage fee. Then anxiety over upcoming tests of a U.S. emergency system. That's right. What are they doing? What are they getting ready for? Homeland Security talks to Hotel Gas. That's right. Half of Facebook users can't keep up with the site's snooping policy as privacy rules change 8 times in 2 years. 14 new ways that the government is watching you. Go and check that out. Big Brother, massive surge in intrusive surveillance by state snoopers. That's right. And then we have the two-legged human-sized war droid, which can do push-ups, I guess, or pull-ups. Thank you.